Nat.
All right, so the first thing requiring a vote of the board is purchase of a police interceptor from Coquille Tribes in the amount of $25,000. It's a 2016 police interceptor model that's already been upfitted and equipped with equipment. It looks like exceeding even the price of what we're paying for the vehicle itself. So I don't know if you guys want to say anything else about it, but it's something that we apparently need to get done before the end of this fiscal year.
And you had the money in your budget to do that?
Yes, ma'am. It'll be replaced.
I move approval of the purchase.
We're on a roll here.
And authorize the sheriff to sign all documents necessary to complete the purchase?
Absolutely.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. What else do you have?
All right, so the next one is a request for reclassification of pay grade for positions elections deputy and recording deputy to pay grade 415 effective July 1st, 2020. This was what was tabled
Right,
at our meeting on Tuesday.
okay. So the request is for us to reclass it from 413 to 415?
And I would also add into that motion approving the revised position descriptions, because I don't see that in there, but it looks like we want to do that too.
Okay.
This is John. I'm having a hard time with this one, with all due respect to the facilities we've had, changing people there. I just think that this we'll never know where this is going to end up if we start reclassifying people every time there's a change in management or, so I'm not for it, and I'm sorry to say that, but I'm not.
Okay, thank you, John. Bob?
Yeah, I have some questions too. I'm not settled if it goes from 413 to 415. Do those people that were compared to at 413 also want to go to 415? I don't know. Should they be reclassified?
I have gotten indication that we will be getting a request for reclass.
Of
from
other folks?
From other employees if we.
Oh my, we barely made the budget for this upcoming year for 2021. And so I'm going, I understand all about the situation they're in, but I'm having real trouble with this spiraling cost when every other department who was compared to would want to put in for a raise. Then and when they go to 415, so those people at 415 think that they are doing more requirements than the 415s that were just put in there. So they also want to go to something else. It's a vicious circle that the state put us in. That's the problem I have. This new state law just puts us in a real bad position as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I know back, I was on that committee with Caroline, and I know I asked her about the positions within my office. One thing she mentioned was there was a lack of education required, which there is really no education for these positions, but these positions have very strict timelines. I mean, recordings, the way the law says, you record immediately.
Mhm.
It's not like, let's say one person is gone, and I think in some of the information I submitted, with 2 people offices, some counties have these offices where the county clerk's office is all together, so you have 4 or more people in an office together, so you can cross-train them. And by cross-training, a lot of times it means just listening to what's going on when you're dealing with an election cycle, you're dealing with your customers, you pick up so much knowledge that way. These offices are completely separate, so when you've got 2 people offices, then you've got 1 staff member gone, and sometimes those can be lengthy absences. just with the sick leave, vacation time, and floating holidays alone, these employees are roughly alone 52 to 62 working days a year. Then they have to take over all the responsibilities. Our offices, both the offices are not one that you can say, okay, we're just not gonna do any of the mail recordings we did, or we're not gonna process whatever is required for these elections. They have to be done right then and there. And if there isn't other staff to do it, then you've gotta take off basically all the responsibilities within that office. Used to be when I came, for instance, you had up to 4 people in elections, you had probably 5 to 7 in the reporting office. Each person had specific tasks that they did. Now, that is not the way you can do it with only 2 people in each office. You have to know every single task and be able to complete those efficiently within those offices. And I think that also makes a difference than if the offices were combined and you could float people among them.
I guess, back when you were there and I was in a different position, we had 530 employees, and the only reason we have about 340 is because of the rapid expansion of health and wellness. Otherwise, we'd be under 300. In other words, about half that we used to have for every department. So everybody has taken on more duties throughout the county, and it's unfortunate but it's the way the economy has gone.
I just don't think we have it, Debbie, and not with the ripple effect it's gonna cause. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what's bothering me the most.
Yeah. Because
If this hadn't had this new state law that said you have to compare and pay everybody across the county, no matter what office they're in, as long as they're doing a similar job, and some offices have a whole lot more funds than others do. You're talking about, in generalities, general fund versus non-general fund. It makes it really difficult to make equality.
Yeah, I mean, I've discussed this with Caroline. She feels these positions do hold more responsibility than the class code of 413. We already had the lead election deputy position, which the only difference would be between what it is now is they would supervise the election deputy, but all the duties that the lead election deputy was doing are 100% what the election deputy is required to do.
And if I remember right, not that long ago, there was a raise given for the lead election deputy.
It was created, the whole entire position was created. It wasn't a raise, it was created.
Okay, and that was about a year ago, maybe?
Probably, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't have that date.
I
but
think
year and a
that
half
generally,
ago,
yeah.
Maybe, I'd say maybe about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Trying to get something in there so they could have the ability to supervise the employees, because I can't always be there in the election to do so.
Sure. So I guess for me, I'd have to have Carolyn make me comfortable that this is not gonna spiral out of control.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she told me yesterday that you had some of those questions and that she was addressing them, and that's the
She-
last I heard.
She had a medical emergency,
Yes,
she couldn't be here,
yeah,
so
She came and talked to me about it this
we
morning.
could maybe talk about it at some other point when Carolyn has some more information.
Yeah, I mean, if she has different information, I think for now, we need to approve the updated job descriptions at pay grade 413.
Okay,
I think is the motion I need.
I would motion that.
Okay. Commissioner Sweet, are you still on the line? I'll go ahead and second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. What else do you have?
All right, so this is the last item, which we
I think we may have already lost.
are requesting.
I'm here still.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
So this is the last item we're requesting board approval for today. This is the second amendment to an employment contract with Dr. Parikh, who's works at Coos Health and Wellness. Basically, he's going to a half-time status under his current pay grade.
Okay. Are there any other changes to the agreement besides that?
There's changes in the amount of time spent with patients, which is going from 24 hours to 16 hours.
Right.
There's an agreement. There's a option to go to full-time if we have the resources and he wants to, and then there's also a requirement to sign up for becoming a member of the IPA.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve the second amendment to employment agreement for Dr. Parikh?
I move we approve.
All right, we have a
It's second, yeah.
Discussion?
So help me understand here. If he's going to have 16 hours a week patient contact now, what was it before?
Before it was 24 hours, so
Okay.
I think the deal is better as far as having more hour for hour more direct patient contact under this agreement than
So
what
it
we had
was-
before.
It's being reduced by a third then? Okay.
Correct, but the pay is being reduced one half.
By 50%, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. That's it, Madam Chair, for me.
All right. Commissioner Sweet, any questions?
No?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Sweet, for your patience and for hanging in there with us.
Sorry you have a conflict. Bye-bye.
Nope, bye. All right, and then,
If Sean's on the phone, I think we should get directly to him for a discussion of regionally significant industrial areas.
yeah, are you still on there, Sean?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Can you give us some background on this?
Yeah, so the Region Industrial Area Program is a program that Business Oregon created, I want to say, in it was probably 10 or 15 years ago. We applied for a designation of about 5 sites in Coos County, 4 or 5 sites in Coos County in the 15-16 time period, which was approved. And essentially the RSIA is a program that's focused on kind of the expedited permitting planning process kind of through the state regulatory agencies, so DLCD, DSL, ODOT, DEQ, and really kind of making sure that those areas that are approved, or those properties, those facilities, and kind of meet those guidelines, and kind of get that process a little bit quicker. The RISIA was a part of I'm not getting into the weeds on this, it's complicated, but the Economic Recovery Review Council, or ERRC, that was kind of eliminated once the kind of state unemployment rate dipped below 6%. Obviously now we're facing a new kind of normal in the future of COVID, and it would be nice to kind of maybe get the county support to work with our legislative folks to maybe try and bring back that council and this RSIA program so we can maybe be a little bit more to county. So that's kind of what that program is and why it disappeared and how we need to get it back. So,
Thanks, Sean. So what would you like us to do?
I think, honestly, it's really just working with us and maybe making this more of an issue for our legislative folks. I guess on the Coastal Caucus, maybe not this session, but I think there's going to be another session in July that was mentioned.
Yeah.
Or maybe next year. Trying to see if we can find a way to maybe work this into that process so we have a fighting chance to kind of get these things back up and rolling. Because I'd like to expand what areas are in the RSIA, so we can maybe make a bigger push to try and bring some employers back to the county while we look at the employment rate. So
I think, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sweet is on your board, right?
yeah, John's on our board.
Okay, how do you feel about working with Commissioner Sweet to determine what exactly we need to do to move this forward?
Yeah,
That would be great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
be happy to do that for sure.
All right, we'll let him know.
Since he's off the line now, yeah.
All right, thank you, Sean, and thanks for joining us and being patient. Sorry about that. All right, do you have anything else?
I think
He
he's
was-
gone.
He's-
Yeah, it was not a second longer on this call. Yeah, so one other thing I just wanted to bring up, we discussed this at the work groups that we had on Tuesday, and that's currently on our website, we have a notice that talks about access to all our Coquille facilities is limited to people calling ahead and making appointments. And Charity wasn't there, but she's here now, and we have a number of offices that are, in the case of the DA's office, needing to move away from that, and in the case of, I know, the Veterans Office as well wants to have walk-ins, and they don't have a whole lot of people coming in, so it's not really going to present, I think, a crowding issue. So I just wanted to bring that up and see if we wanted to amend what that says, that document that we released, and if so, how would we do it in a coordinated fashion, I guess.
Well, number one, I don't know that we're ready to do it yet.
Okay.
I think what would be helpful, and something we briefly touched on in our meeting last week, was if Charity could work with those departments that want to reopen to make sure that they're reopening and meeting all the requirements. Even just things as simple as putting a mark on the floor for where people need to stand to have 6 feet of social distancing. Like I went to talk to Nat today, and it was pretty clear that you can't go into his office and still maintain 6 feet.
And no one has.
But simple things like that, putting a mark on the floor for some departments, or, Paul has a problem with his pass-through window. If you could identify barriers to getting those departments safely reopened and work with them to figure out solutions. I know maintenance is more than happy to help, but we need to be identifying where the barriers are and
So-
figuring out what the solutions are.
So maybe a good starting point would be sending something out to all department heads saying,
Yes.
contact you if they would like to move to a reopening to the public so that they can have a plan, and then once those are in place, then come back to the board and at one of these
Yes.
meetings in the future and say, here's what we're gonna do, yay or nay,
Perfect.
and then it'll be more coordinated.
Yes, because I
So-
noticed the department's plans are very different depending on which department you talk to. And I think we have the flexibility to allow departments to come up with their own plans. Like the planning department is actually having people leave documents outside and calling them or texting them when the document is there. And then the person leaves, they go pick up the document. I mean, that's fine with me, as long as and it seems to be working for people and is working for the planning department. Just realizing that different departments are gonna have different levels of comfort and different requirements on what they need to do.
And we're not telling people either that if they're getting by with their current protocols and they wanna continue them, then we're not telling them they need to open up more at this point
No,
unless
not
there's
at
an
this point.
issue.
Yeah, we just have some departments that are going to be forced to open up because of state courts making a decision to go to doing jury trials, and I'm sure there's other departments that are having to open for their own reasons that I may not even be aware of. And,
I know the veterans department has contacted me already, they would
yeah,
open up, and then we purchase the plexiglass,
yeah,
like we did in the elections office, and we've been using some safety money for some of those purchases.
yeah, and I had mentioned too that they have marine grade plastic over at SOWIB, if that helps, like they use for boat windows and that kind of thing. They have it on hand if you need it, or sanitizer or masks, so.
I was looking at the little circles for those safety.
Oh, great.
on the floor.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. So yeah, I think people just need somebody to help them through the process, and so if you can do that, that would be great.
It would-
Okay. 'Cause I know you've been in the middle of all this anyway, and you know what all the requirements are, so.
Yep.
Who better? Thank you, Charity.
That'd be great.
You can start with Bob's office. We're gonna have to lock the door. Sorry, I thought I started to hear a comment on the phone. Is that you, Paul?
Yeah, I had to drop off a minute, take another call, but I'm back.
Oh, great. We were just discussing reopening and department heads working with Charity, or elected officials working with Charity to figure out what changes need to be made, and she'll coordinate getting those changes made. Like your pass-through window was one of the topics that came up.
Right, and I've talked to We had a video conference with my available lawyers this morning with public health regarding what we need to do when we have people coming in that we have to, have one-on-one contact with and so forth, to get ready for trials and so forth. So my people have been briefed in by the health department on what the best practices should be.
Great, thank you.
I don't have anything else, no.
You have any? All right, does anyone have anything else? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all so much.
You have
Thanks for
that
joining us.
letter,
Okay.
Melissa?
What, sir? Was there something else?
Oh, no, just a support letter for the Oregon Anglers thing. Here you
So
go.
did Judy call you? Oh, she's going to call you.
Well, I just sent you a text because Coos Bay wants us to dispatch
Yeah.
fire.
What? Wait a minute. Coos Bay wants us to do fire and they're doing police for North